What's going on, guys? It's Zigzag here, and today I'm back with another Australia tutorial. This is the second in the series, so definitely go and check out the first one if you haven't already. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. Alright, so last video I kind of talked a bit about the Australia cars, but here I'm going to go into a bit more detail to start things off. We have the white car, which is probably the most common, I would say, throughout Australia. So it's got a long antenna, and often you can see a little bit of the red light, or a little bit of the red light and the black kind of holder on the sides, or even the whole red light. And yeah, that'll normally have the longer antenna. And that's what the longer antenna looks like. And here's what the shorter antenna looks like, which you can also see. Then there's the Generation 4 blue car. And also, I've seen this red car with a long antenna outside Melbourne, but it could be elsewhere as well. It kind of looks like the Ukraine car. And so I don't know if there are others. I'm sure there are, but these are the main ones you'll encounter. I mean, I've spent quite a long time on Google just looking around recently, so yeah. Alright, so first things first, I didn't really go into how the highway signs look in the last video, but this is how they should generally look in Australia. You can see it's generally like the standard green and white, but also for tollways you might have yellow and blue. And here I've come and written down all the different highway starting letters that you might have in the different states. So for example, in Victoria you can have highways like the A2 or the B11 or the C11 or the M3, all these different letters beforehand. And Western Australia and Northern Territory don't tend to have letters on their highways, so that can be a good clue. So here's what a Tasmanian road sign looks like, pretty standard. But if you are on the island of Tasmania, you can get these white ones, so that's a good clue. They aren't green like the rest of Australia. This is also an interesting location because you can see these orange bollards, which you can also get in Tasmania. And also you can occasionally get blue ones in Tasmania, and I've seen them in South Australia too. So worth keeping in mind. Bit of winter coverage here as well, as you can see. Here is a sign that you can often get in the Northern Territory. Instead of white writing, you have black writing on a white background. And that's not everywhere in the NT, but I've definitely seen a little bit of it around. Here are some unique, or not quite unique, but commonly seen in Tasmania bollards. And so you will have the normal Australian bollards that I talked about in the last video in Tasmania. However, these ones with this black strip along the side of them, if you can see, they have a black strip on them, and they are mostly found in Tasmania. Likewise, these ones in Western Australia, near Perth, have a black base and a round reflector, and they are found also in Queensland sometimes I've seen them, but generally Western Australia is a good clue. Alright, next up is one that's quite interesting. In the Mount Kosciuszko National Park, you've got not only this unique Google car, but yellow road lines for better visibility during snow. And also have these long red bollards, so it's pretty unique around here. You should be able to spot it nicely. Next up, we have what the Australian speed signs look like. I don't think I really talked too much about this in the last one, but Australian speed signs always have this white border. They're normally rectangular. And you can actually see that over here in New Zealand, this one's New Zealand, not Australia, you have kind of the lollipop style. And also, if you don't, you might have a green background. But Australia has neither this nor this. Back at this location, you can see a little meta I've discovered, or I'd never heard it before, but it seems that in Western Australia, most Western Australian cities, including Perth, have yellow signposts, particularly for giveaway signs, but also for speed signs. And you can see on this intersection, all these posts have yellow stems, and I don't think I've seen that in any other Australian cities apart from in the state of Western Australia. So definitely worth keeping that in mind. I only found that out today. Alright, so next up we have the chevron, the turning arrows, and in Australia you're mostly going to find black and white, and I think these are more for urban areas, and black and yellow more for rural, but that's not a hard and fast rule. I've seen them used pretty much interchangeably around the country. Next up is typical Australian bins. I mean, obviously each kind of local council, each city district has its own thing going on. but here are some typical Australian bins, I would say, with red and yellow lids, and also a yellow line denoting no parking zones. And also here is a bike lane, and those are pretty much the same around the country, I reckon. And also, here is the phone numbers. So, for example, here we are in Western Australia, so we've got the regional code 08, and then 4 digits and 4 digits. That's for the landline, and this is how the mobile phones numbers work here. And in Australia, they always start with 04. So that's two good little clues that you can use when you are in urban areas. Okay, now moving on to some kind of more general hints about the Australian landscape. We're going to talk about dirt colour, because if you've played much Geoguessr in Australia, you've noticed that the dirt colour ranges widely. So here we are in South Australia, and one thing that people often observe about South Australia is that the dirt on the side of the road is pretty white. And so you can see where we are here. We're over here, where my cursor is, so right in the south of South Australia. And it's a general rule that the further north you go in Australia, the more red the soil is going to become. So here we were, and here's our next example, and this one is also in South Australia, in the Nullarbor Plains, and this one is between South Australia and Perth, and it has this very unique look about it. Whenever I see these bushes like this, completely flat, I know I'm in the Nullarbor, and that is right here, kind of equal distance between Perth and Adelaide. You know this whole area looks like that. Right, next up, we are near Perth, and hopefully you can notice a bit of a difference here, but the sides of the roads here, it starts to get a little bit more red than it does in South Australia. So even though we are a similar kind of distance from the equator, we're only a little bit further up, but yeah, in this Perth area, a lot of the soil is getting a little bit redder. And as we head even further north, again, the soil is redder. This is in the desert, right up here. As we head further north, the soil is getting redder. And you're going to see this again here. Here we are in the north of the Northern Territory, and look how red this dirt is. Completely, almost actually red, not even orange anymore. So that is a good clue, to be sure. This one was over here, near Kakadu National Park, near Katherine. And as we head down near Alice Springs, this location here is just north of Alice Springs, you can see we've got this distinctly orange color. It's the most orange out of all of them we've had so far, and I would say this is kind of like what you'd associate with the Australian outback. It's near Alice Springs, near Uluru. It is a very distinct orange color, kind of right in the center of the country. And then here we are in regional Queensland, and it gets kind of harder to determine all along the east coast, but that's what it looks like up here. And yeah, finally, in terms of the landscape, I wanted to talk about nature, and perhaps the most underrated clue for getting Australia is just knowing what eucalyptus trees look like. They've got kind of this white branch. They've often got like shaggy bark coming off it, and this is what Australian trees look like, these eucalyptus trees. You'll see them almost everywhere in the country, and it's a very good clue for differentiating it. Now, you might see eucalyptus trees in other countries, but Australia is covered in them. Okay guys, to end off the video, I'm going to show you guys some more unique locations that are probably less relevant than what I showed at the start of the video, but might help you get some clutch guesses in there. So first off, here we are in Broken Hill, New South Wales, and I told you that these Stobie pole South Australian style poles are unique to South Australia. Well, this is probably the one exception, because Broken Hill often has its administrative stuff done by South Australia, so you will see a few of these unique South Australian poles with the metal on each side and the concrete in the middle in Broken Hill, which is just up here on the border of South Australia and New South Wales. Next up, we have these metal poles with the holes in them, and these ones I'm pretty sure are unique to the Northern Territory. In any case, you can see them in both Darwin and Alice Springs and around the place in the NT, so that should come in useful for some of your guesses. Next up, we got some unique cars that come from the Australian national parks. So if you have this car with more the left mirror being able to be seen and a white bonnet and this little metal thing at the back, then you are in a South Australian national park, and there's like 4 or 5 national parks that are covered in SA, but they are all in the Adelaide area around here. So if you're in one of these national parks kind of along this mountain range here, then you can be pretty confident that that is the car that you'll be able to see with the white bonnet. All right, next up, we're in the Blue Mountains, and we've got this New South Wales National Park car, and it's kind of got the snorkel. It's like the Coco's Island car, and it's got some writing up here. You'll be able to see that. So this is the Blue Mountains National Park. This is another one, slightly different snorkel, but a similar type of car. So you just have to remember that this is the type of car you get in the New South Wales National Parks. This one is that one. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Bindaray National Park. Next up, another one in the Bollards Rangers National Park. They're all a bit different. They're the same model of car with this snorkel, but they're all a bit different. And you can actually see some writing on the top of this one. And Barrington Tops, again, got the writing on the bonnet. This is the car. The Sells National Park. This is slightly different. You can't see anything at the back, and you can also you also got like a black roof rack, and it says LN48 at the top there. So that one is good to keep in mind. This one's also in New South Wales, up here, a bit north of Sydney. Alright, and then we just to finish off the video, we have a few unique boats. So this boat is right up on the coast of Western Australia, I believe, the Cape Range National Park up here, right there. So if you get a bit of boat coverage around this peninsula, you know it's that. And here are the two Tasmanian boats. This one says Olympus on the top, and it's in Lake St. Clair National Park, or Lake St. Clair Lake, and that is located here, right near the centre of Tasmania. And then we have the Dove Lake boat with this fella in a good old Australian looking hat, and that is at Dove Lake, also in Tasmania, just here. Very small amount of coverage for that one. But yeah, that pretty much ends it out for all my specific tips for Australia. Hopefully something in this will help improve your guesses in the future. I have no doubt that some of it will, because I learned a lot of stuff while making this video. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Subscribe for more tutorials, and peace.